Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome to the Anti-World War Thunder video. And for once that tired old gag is actually factually correct. This is the first War Thunder video of 2023. You never know your luck, it may even not be the last, we'll see how things go. Anyway, cracking on here with an air-realistic battle, starring the king of typos, here in a Japanese World War II fighter aircraft that isn't the Mitsubishi Zero. So who knows what it actually is? Don't look at the team list. Yeah. It's kind of sad really, because this aircraft, the Nakajima Ki-43, really doesn't get enough credit. Because if you were to ask most people to name a World War II Japanese fighter aircraft, they'll say the Mitsubishi Zero. Actually, most of them will probably just say the Zero, they wouldn't even know that it was built by Mitsubishi. And then say to them, okay, now name another, and then watch them just kind of stare blankly off into the middle distance as they struggle to come up with any Japanese aircraft of World War II that wasn't a Zero. Which is kind of sad, because this aircraft, the Nakajima Ki-43, really does not get enough credit. And I think the reason why most people have never heard of it is because it was not a Navy aircraft. This aircraft, the Ki-43, was built for and operated solely by the Imperial Japanese Army. And with the nature of the war in the Pacific being what it was mostly naval aircraft, operating mostly, obviously, from Imperial Japanese Navy carriers. But there were Army aircraft involved in the war as well, based on island air bases. And those fighters were usually the Ki-43. In fact, it was actually called the Army Zero by American pilots. It saw a lot of service and it did extremely well. Performance-wise, it was actually comparable to the Mitsubishi Zero in all but one fairly significant respect, which we'll address in a moment. It also shared a lot of the deficiencies. Basically no armour, no self-sealing fuel tanks. But the speed and agility were right up there with the Zero. And in fact, when the Army asked the Nakajima company to develop an improved version of the aircraft upon which this was based, the Nakajima Ki-27, they liked the Ki-27 so much that they didn't even put the competition out to tender. They just turned around to Nakajima and said, build another one, but better. So how do you define better than the Ki-27? Well, the Army specifications were fairly ambitious. They said, this was in 1937, it needs to be able to achieve 500 kilometers per hour, which was pretty quick, have a range of at least 800 kilometers, and at least have the same, but preferably better maneuverability than the Ki-27. So the Nakajima engineers went to work, and then in 1939, very early actually, I think it was January 1939, the Nakajima test pilots took the prototype Ki-43 out for its first test flight. And then 2 months later in March, another test flight, and let's just say things were not looking good. Test pilots reported that the aircraft was less manoeuvrable than the Ki-27 and not much faster. So the engineers went back to the drawing board and came up with 10 successive evaluation machines with improvements. They trimmed the weight, they gave it a slimmer fuselage, they moved the tail assembly back, they gave it a new canopy, they also introduced what were known as butterfly flaps that gave it enhanced agility, and with these changes it was ordered in production as the Army Type 1 fighter and was given the name Hayabusa, which is Japanese for peregrine falcon. Performance was comparable to the Mitsubishi Zero. The Army were very, very pleased with the aircraft. The pilots loved flying it. It had a light touch on the controls, it was highly manoeuvrable, even at low speeds. The only problem, and this was the major difference between the Ki-43 Hayabusa and the Mitsubishi Zero, was when they started trying to shoot things down, because it was armed only with two 7.7mm machine guns. Now, just to put this into perspective for you, the early variants of the Spitfire and the Hawker Hurricane were considered undergunned, and they had twice that number of rifle caliber machine guns. You see, when you're shooting at an aerial target that might be only passing through your gun sights for the barest fraction of a second, rate or volume of fire is considered key in putting enough lead on target to do enough damage to put that target down. And you can achieve this in a number of different ways. So the early Spitfires and the Hawker Hurricanes did this by just having lots and lots and lots, in some cases as many as 8 rifle caliber machine guns. Another way of achieving the same result is to just increase the rate of fire of the guns that you use. So for example, the American M1919 is the machine gun that you'd often see in the movies being operated by two-man teams in the US Army, one carrying the tripod and the ammo cans and the other machine gun. The Air Force version of the same machine gun had double the rate of fire. Oh, hang on a second. Getting into a dogfight here with a Yak-1. Not a very good aircraft, it has to be said. However, in this case, it appears to be being flown by a fairly good pilot. And it looks like there's another enemy aircraft getting involved in this dogfight, and it passed by a little bit too quickly to see what it actually was, but the dogfights in this particular replay, by the way, are outstanding. It's the reason why we're watching this video at all. Look at them go. Yeah, and very good. Did you see that? Not getting tunnel vision, not fixating on the one target when there was another aircraft. It's the P400, which is a variant of the Tomahawk, or the Kitty Hawk, depending on which country you come from. But look at these guys go. Back on the Yak-1. Shots out. And he's got him. There's his first kill. Now where did the P400 go? Oh, here he comes. See him going defensive here. Yeah, and he's been joined by another one. Like I said, the dogfights in this battle are absolutely outstanding. The sheer maneuverability of this thing, even at low speeds, is pretty darn impressive. He's trying to motor on out of there, and this thing is pretty quick, but the problem is, because it was so light, it just didn't have the dive performance. P400 back on his tail, the Yak-1, I believe, still in pursuit. Maneuvering to avoid, trying to get the P400 in front of it. Whoa, that was close. The P400, by the way, in case you've never heard of it, which wouldn't be surprising, it's kind of like the budget version of the P-39 Aerocobra. It's not a bad aircraft. Look at this. Swooping around and above him, flipping over, getting on his tail. P400 sees him, he's going into the climb. And it's a more powerful aircraft, but he's got him. And if you're thinking, wow, that seemed particularly savage, that didn't look like no 7.7mm machine gun to me, you're absolutely right, but we'll get on to that. Assuming the coast is clear. And it does seem to be. So yes, 3 different methods of achieving volume of fire on target in the split second that an aircraft may be passing in front of your gun sight. Increase the number of guns. Increase the rate of fire of the guns, or just throw bigger bullets at it. And that's what they did. Oh, hang on a second, there's an I-53 down there. That little thing is bloody dangerous. It's a biplane, and, you know, disregard it at your peril, because it means it's exceptionally manoeuvrable at low speed. And it's armed to the teeth. It looks like he's got 3 aircraft on him though, so he's going to need every ounce of that manoeuvrability. And yeah. The typos was about to overshoot, which is common. Oh, hang on, the I-53 hasn't actually gone down yet. No, he has. Okay, yeah. BF-19 up ahead. A Yak-1, MiG-3. Again, not a particularly great aircraft. You look at the scores of the German fighter aces in World War II, and you compare them to the tallies of Allied fighter aces, and you see such and such an Allied pilot with 12 confirmed kills, or this Allied pilot with 25 confirmed kills. I really should know their names, but I don't, I'm crap. And then you look at the German fighter aces with like 300 kills. You think, were the German pilots really that much better? Well, actually no. So what accounts for the disparity in the number of kills? Well, a couple of things. First, the German pilots, and this was true of the Japanese pilots as well, they didn't get to go home and train new pilots when they had completed their tour of duty. They basically kept flying and fighting until they were killed. And also, and king of typos, has run out of ammo. That's why he's having to leave that wounded MiG-3 to a teammate and settle for an assist rather than his 4th kill. But also the German pilots got vastly inflated kill tallies during the opening stages of Operation Barbarossa, where extremely well-trained and experienced German pilots in very good aircraft were going up against extremely inexperienced and badly trained Soviet pilots in piles of junk like the Yak-1 and the MiG-3, if they were lucky. I mean, just about the only good thing you could say about the MiG-3 was, hey, at least it isn't as bad as the MiG-1. That's not a huge bunch of consolation when you're going up against people like Adolf Galland in a Bf 109 and you only have 4 hours of flight training. So yeah, I'm not saying that the German pilots were bad. I mean, of course they weren't, but there's a reason why some of these German pilots had kill scores recorded in the hundreds, not least of which because targets on the ground were also counted as kills. If you're doing a strafing run on the Soviet airfield with 30 Yak-1s lined up in parade formation, that's 30 kills. Just the same as if you'd shot them down in the air. Anyway, back to the point as King of Typos heads back to rearm. And I'd say repair, but I don't think he's suffered a single hit so far. What was the point anyway? Oh yes, yeah, the inexplicable savagery of the hits that he's been scoring in this supposedly twin 7.7mm armed, extremely light, quick and manoeuvrable Imperial Japanese Army fighter. And oh dear, yeah, the friendly Bf 109 appears to have pancaked, trying to do a soft landing about a kilometre short of the airfield. That is not good. There's only 3 of them left. Against, how many enemies is that? One of them's parachuting. 3 against 5. Yeah. Anyway, yes, I will try to stick to the point. Because this Ki 43 Hayabusa does not have twin 7.7mm machine guns, the Nakajima engineers managed to cram a pair of, well, what they call 12.7mm machine guns into the engine cowling, but which were basically Japanese derivatives, by which I mean blatantly shameless copies of the world famous and still in service today because it's that damn good Browning M2 50 caliber machine gun, the old Marduce. And as King of Typos rolls to a halt, and you're just going to have to imagine the ground crews coming out to give them a quick tune-up, wipe the windscreen and reload those 50 caliber machine guns, he's just lost another teammate. It's now 2 against 5. And one of the 2, i.e. the surviving teammate who isn't him, is in a bomber. Well, shit. So a short while later, King of Typos is climbing to altitude in order to head back into the battle, and then a couple of things happen. Enemy MiG-3 takes down his lone surviving teammate, but not without taking some damage into the process. And then, I don't know if you saw it, but over on the right of the screen, in the direction of those ground targets and the enemy MiG-3, we just saw the enemy P-39 Airacobra in a nice, shallow descending glide, which ended in the ground. I have no idea what happened. I mean, I don't think there were even any ground targets over there for him to shoot at, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, 1 fighter down, and at least one of those MiG-3s is damaged. The problem here, of course, is that he is outnumbered 4-1, and you might be looking at the enemy team list there and thinking, well, okay, it is 4-1, but one of them's a bomber. Well, kind of is and it kind of isn't. See, the ironic thing here is that of the 4 surviving enemy aircraft, 3 of which are definitely fighters, they're not very good fighters. There's a pair of MiG-3s, one of which we know is damaged, and a Yak-1. We've already seen those in action. The other one, and this is the ironic part, the A-36, it's listed as a strike aircraft, and it is a strike aircraft. It's the ground attack version of the P-51 Mustang. So, yeah, this isn't good. We can just hope that they're all dumb enough to come at him one at a time. Hello, Yak-1. Now he does have the height advantage, and he has completely squandered it. And, well, you know, King of Typos had a thing or two to do with it by going defensive and manoeuvring against him. So he needs to put this Yak-1 down before his teammates can arrive and ruin the party. And I can't really see him having too many problems doing that, because the Yak-1 is awful. And there it goes. Kill number 4 with 1 assist. Here comes one of the MiG-3s. Oh, the A-36 is closing in on his ass as well. Things just got interesting. And at this stage of the battle, you have to assume that the A-36 is going to be faster and more manoeuvrable than you might expect of a strike aircraft, even a strike aircraft based on the P-51 Mustang, because he will no longer be carrying his bombs. Yeah, this just got interesting. Where did the other MiG-3 go? Actually, you know what? Let's worry about the ones that are here. In particular, that A-36. That thing needs to die, while not completely ignoring the yak. I mean, you can kind of... It is just a yak 1, but, well, we saw him fighting against the yak 1 earlier. Oh shit, they are all 3 of them here now. Fantastic. But yeah, we saw him fighting against the yak 1 right at the beginning. And he's got the A36. Okay, that's going to be a huge relief. He's managed to turn inside and avoid getting plastered there. Where did the other one go? There's the MiG-3. There's the MiG-3. And defensive. Avoided the MiG-3. He does enjoy much better manoeuvrability than these guys, particularly at low altitude and low speed. Oh, hello. That guy appears to be in trouble. I'm not even... Wow, everybody's trailing smoke. I didn't even see him hit them. Oh, they're fighting above the airfield. Cheers, suckers. Yeah, that would explain a few things. Yeah, King of Typos has been loitering around the airfield, waiting for them to come to him, and the anti-aircraft defences around the airfield have been shredding them. Of course he has. I mean, hey, why not? If you find yourself in a fair fight, you just didn't plan the engagement properly. And no matter which way you slice it, 1 against 4 is always going to be an unfair fight. So you even up the odds by bringing a whole bunch of extra guns to the party in the shape of the airfield's air defences. He simply made maximum use of the resources available to him. Not doing it would just be fighting with one hand tied behind your back. I may be giving him slightly too much credit here, but I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's not as if he picked and chose the terms of the fight. They all came to him. That was on them. Unfortunately, that is basically it as far as the aerial action goes in this battle, because while he returns to rearm, repair and refuel, and the MiG-3 is doing the same because we last saw him trailing smoke after getting savaged by the airfield anti-aircraft defences, the enemy team are going to start losing tickets. And they're going to start losing tickets and basically lose on points because the A36 chose violence instead of doing his job and going after the ground targets. So I suppose you could argue that's a lucky win there for King of Typos in the Imperial Japanese Army Ki-43 Hayabusa, although, well, there's luck and then there's luck. He certainly had to work for it. Either way, a win's a win, and that was some of the most engaging and entertaining dogfighting that I have seen in War Thunder in recent memory, and I hope you all enjoyed it too, because that's it for today.